There is a lot of hope that the future of the city can be brighter, but where does the focus need to be to make that happen? Let's get to our MiWeek contributors. Nolan Finley, the editorial page editor of the Detroit News, and Stephen Henderson, the editorial page editor of the Detroit Free Press. Gentlemen, it's good to see you. So when we launch into the conversation about where does Detroit now need to go, we talk about bankruptcy giving the city a clean slate, but it feels that there are so many things that now need to be navigated and pitfalls, Nolan.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. I mean, the challenges still remain. The collapsing neighborhoods, they have to be stabilized. We still have to figure out an answer for all that abandoned space in the city. Services have to be improved. But mostly, I would say, going out from here, that the major challenge is staying focused on fiscal discipline, good government, making everyday progress in fixing all the many things that are still wrong in the city. And that's not a year job. It's not the job of one administration. That's going to come out 20, 30 years. We got to do things right for 20, 30 years to get Detroit where it needs to be.
But does it start with one administration, Stephen? Does it start with the leadership that's now at the city?
Oh, I think it does. I think this is the first real test of Mike Duggan and the way he wants to manage government and the way he wants to sort of shape the progress in the city. I mean, I think that there are a couple things he's got to do right away. One, there are a lot of people in the city who haven't felt anything change since the bankruptcy or before. These are people living in neighborhoods that are isolated and economically struggling, and they haven't had any benefit from what's going on. I think you have to get into those neighborhoods quickly and start to make a difference. Public safety, lighting, you got to deal with education in these places, economic opportunity. The mayor's really got to push this stuff out to the places where you have 300, 400,000 Detroiters living in these areas who have not felt like things are getting better. That's his first real test.
And the latest crime stats are just absolutely devastating. And if he had to pick just one thing to fix first, he's got to just swarm that crime problem, because people get broken into, they get mugged, their car gets stolen out of their driveway, they're gone.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to give them any more time to get it right.
The thing that people are not thinking about in terms of crime, one of the things that happened in the bankruptcy was that we reshaped the way that the city pays police officers. So they already had really low pay. Now they don't have a great pension. So the incentive to go be a Detroit police officer, where you're doing dangerous duty every shift, every day, is almost gone. We need a lot more officers. Where are you going to get the money to plow back into salaries, to plow maybe into some sort of retirement plans, some incentive to go do that job? If you don't do that, crime is not going to go down.
A big piece of that $140 million that was freed up by the bankruptcy ought to go right there, because it's the first thing. When you talk about people noticing, they will notice safer neighborhoods.
Okay, so you're talking about the neighborhoods, you're talking about the amount of police that you have on the street. But again, I think it gets back to that age-old question that we have such a large footprint, the city of Detroit, and we have neighborhoods that are decimated, where you have one or two viable homes on a block and that you don't have anything else in between there. So what the administration has tried to do is start to get at those neighborhoods that are at the tipping point and save some. But can you save all of the various neighborhoods, or the ones where you say that people have not been affected so far by the bankruptcy process, haven't seen those lights turn back on?
I don't think you have a choice. I mean, there's a difference between saying you're going to move those neighborhoods back to the density and level of service that they might have had 20 or 30 years ago, and saying we aren't going to let the people there just suffer. We're not going to let them not have streetlights or not have police presence. You've got to cover the city. You've got to cover basic services for everybody, and that's been the city's struggle because we were paying so much money into debt and long-term liabilities. Now that we're not doing that, the focus has to be on, if you're going to live here, you got to feel safe. You got to have the garbage picked up. You got to have, if your house catches on fire, we're not going to let it burn to the ground. These are basic expectations that I think the mayor's got to start meeting for everybody.
I still think you've got to execute a plan to try and consolidate neighborhoods. If you have blocks with one person on it, or whole neighborhoods with, a very few residents, I think you have to start providing incentives to get people to move into denser neighborhoods, so you can shut off areas from you know, the need to provide police, fire, what have you. Otherwise, you just spread way too thin. I don't see how you can afford to do it.
Last question for both of you. What can we expect to see, or what should we expect to see out of the city of Detroit in the next 6 months? I'm going to start with you, Stephen.
I mean, I think we will get a sort of plan and a plan of attack from the mayor, right? He'll say, here's what I plan to do, here's where I plan to do it, here's the strategy I'm employing to start focusing on the neighborhoods. And if you talk to him right now, that's what he's talking about, is the neighborhoods. We have got to get out there, deal with blight, deal with economic opportunity, deal with public safety. I think 6 months is a small window to start asking for changes, but I think to see what he's going to do and have a plan, it makes sense.
Last 20 seconds.
Yeah, he's got to show some motion. I would agree. He's got to put a structure in place, but he's got to give the people a sense that things are moving, because they're still losing population, and this is a city that can't afford to lose any more people. It's at 6 something now, 675, 680. It goes down much lower than that, and the problems just explode.
All right. Well, we will continue to watch, and that'll do it for MiWeek. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember, you can always find us at MiWeek.org to watch any shows you might have missed, and make sure you join the conversation throughout the week. We are on Facebook and Twitter at MiWeek. For all of us at Detroit Public TV, I'm Christy McDonald, and we'll see you next week.